Part 60. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 592. I said, stop. Yilin had a kind smile on her face. If you just say it, no one will stop. It's not just the spreading malice that's at work, everyone has their own agenda. After the two worlds merged, the giant black ball appeared. Unless you were blind, it was impossible not to pay close attention to it. That's the key. Combined with the goal of main task 3, the answer is very obvious. There is only one truth. The true form of the resentful spirit Gaijimimi is inside. There is only one truth. Kudo Shinji walked out of the ghosts whose bodies were covered with knives. Those sword ghosts were transformed by Kudo Shinji's murderous intention. They did not attack Kudo Shinji himself, but instead surrounded Kudo Shinji among them. He pushed up his glasses with a confident smile on his face. I'm very doubtful now, which side are you on, or have you been controlled a long time ago? From the beginning, I felt that something was wrong with you, like intentionally or unintentionally, they set us on the road to death. Kudo Shinji's voice was very loud. He did not lower his voice deliberately. Everyone on the battlefield heard Kudo Shinji's words and glared at Yilin angrily. What Muto Iron did when he was on the other side brought a lot of hatred to Yilin. Yilin had expected this outcome a long time ago, but until now, she still felt helpless and regretful. If given a choice, he wants to be a good person. A good person who is honest and motivated, optimistic, non-aggressive, gentle and kind. Why should we listen to you? Why don't you let us complete our mission? Several apostles were surrounded by bloated pieces of flesh, their eyes were black, and they looked at Yilin with murderous intent and resentment in their eyes. In fact, even those who think they can still maintain their sanity are more or less affected. The evil thoughts filled in this space. The evil thoughts here are like viruses and air. Filling every corner, living in it, you are unknowingly being guided out of the ugliest negative emotions deep in your heart. The apostles' negative emotions are inherently stronger than those of ordinary people. For example, most of the monsters that appear in the minds of ordinary people are small monsters that can be killed instantly at will. They are as powerful as elite monsters. But the monsters born from the apostles' resentment are not just little monsters. Just like Yilin, under the influence of resentment, most of his emotions will be absorbed, leaving only faint thoughts. But his obsession with surviving was so deep that an alternative existence like Muto Iron was born. Under the control of Iron Muto, the difficulty of this trial was pushed to a more terrifying level, far exceeding the ordinary Eternal Night level trial. To put it bluntly, if Yilin hadn't come, maybe they would have cleared the level long ago, in a simpler way. Yilin's bad luck brought everyone down. Speaking of which, after combining various clues, Yilin had already guessed the most normal way to pass this trial. In fact, it is very simple. That is to take the ordinary route, cooperate with Master Yunfen, and after exploring the superficial truth of the Gaijin-mei incident, use the method that Kanzaki Temple is good at to completely eliminate the Gaijin-mei in the outside world. Destroyed, everyone is happy. At this point, Yilin can no longer look back. No one can turn back. Yilin closed her eyes. It's not my fault. When you open your eyes again, the trace of guilt that had just arisen in her heart was easily wiped away by Yilin. Do it. Following Yilin's order, Su Jingjing, Li Chang'e, and Wang Tiandi all took action at the same time. I come. Su Jingjing looks like a eldest daughter from a good family, but she is actually a restless master at heart. Otherwise, a Jingjing monster who only wanted to shoot Li Chang'e to death would not have been born from the depths of her heart. Su Jingjing had been prepared long ago. When Yilin gave the order, dozens of long arrows flashed with light of different colors and shot out from the string, spreading a small rain of arrows in the sky. Rhapsody. Snapped. At the end of the team, Li Chang'e played support with peace of mind, smiled slightly, took a step back calmly, and snapped his fingers. He recalled in his mind the horror of the quiet monster, the terrifying thick arrow with a spiral pattern and spiked barbs, and the dazzling special effects, released from behind Li Chang'e. Su Anjing's arrow rain was strangely fissured under the influence of Li Chang'e's rhapsody. 1 is 2, 2 is 4, 4 is 16. In the blink of an eye, a large earth-shaking rain of arrows formed. The terrifying momentum was like a downpour, and even Su Anjing who shot these arrows was startled. This kid finally stopped pretending and became serious for once. Yilin noticed the specialness of Li Chang'e's abilities when she first met Li Chang'e. Li Chang'e's ability seems to be of no use. It has no lethality except for being extremely insulting. If it can be used in the right place, the power it can exert may even scare Li Chang'e himself. Under the guidance of strong emotions, Su Anjing's real arrows were mixed in with the special effects. The real and fake arrows were real and fake. The special effects were enough to confuse Su Anjing's attack with the real one, creating enough momentum for Su Anjing's attack. No one dares to bet with his life. I bet there are no real arrows in this wave of arrows. In an instant, under Su Jingjing's and Li Chang'e's mellow combined skill attack, all the apostles did not dare to withstand the arrows and retreated in fear. But where can they retreat? They had gathered together to show off their special abilities and smash the huge black ball. He was in a perfect position, but now there was Yilin's team in front of him, and there was an unbreakable black ball behind him. He was neither in front nor behind, and he was in an embarrassing situation. Wang Tiandi used his ultimate move not long ago, and is still in the sage state after the ultimate move, but he is too embarrassed to paddle, swings his tail, transforms into a brave little flying dog, and nimbly shuttles between the apostles and the ghosts. Scratch it here, bite it there, and have a qigong wave from time to time, it's so unpleasant. This team is crazy. In the chaos, someone roared, we must unite. Otherwise, all of us will die. He didn't even have time to say the word death before Kankan uttered the syllable. A ruthless bullet hit him between the eyebrows, taking away his life and decisively ending his career as a sidekick. 2. Yilin flicked her wrist, her hand speed exploded, and she quickly loaded the gun, and a charged bullet regrouped in the magazine. As each apostle dies, the ghosts embodied by their negative emotions disappear simultaneously. Areas were vacated, but soon more ghosts emerged from the dark blood. The black water beneath their feet is the source of endless resentment. As long as the apostles do not die, ghosts will continue to appear. Under the violent attack of Yilin's team, emotions such as fear, anger, murderous intention, and resentment seem to have formed in the air, flowing in the world in front of them, and finally silently gathered somewhere. The whole world is dark. In the dark place, ghosts surge. The human body of the apostle looked extremely small in the endless tide of ghosts. The incarnations of Wang Tiandi and Su Jingjing's mental images continue to appear. The ferocious vicious dogs and the Jingjing monsters covered with arrow holes were fighting crazily with other ghosts. In an instant, black water and severed limbs flew across the sky, and the black water became the same color as the sky. The chaos and bloodshed at the scene is difficult to describe in just a few words. At this point, it is no longer possible to tell who is right and who is wrong, and there are only a few thoughts left in everyone's mind. Either kill everyone in front of you, or in order to survive, everyone's obsession, everyone's resentment, everyone's madness, in this tragic and crazy world, collide with fierce splashes. Li Chang'e looked at the tragic scene of mass killings in the distance and subconsciously took a few steps back. From his angle, he could not see as clearly as Yilin from a high position. He could only see the suspended black ball on the horizon, as well as a dark pile of bloated and rotting meat and various monsters with twisted limbs. Li Chang'e gritted his teeth, opening and closing his eyes, his pretentious mood instantly in place. Let me be the light. Li Chang'e raised his right arm high and held his head high. The 10,000 feet of light suddenly changed, and the colorful glow blinded everyone's eyes in the strange world filled with black and white. The dark eyes of the apostles whose eyes were red were stung by Li Changa's special effects light. They subconsciously raised their heads and looked in the direction of the light. They were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. "Boss! Help me to show off, ah! Help me!" I saw the dazzling colorful rays of light condensed into a giant hundreds of meters high in the sky. The giant was wearing a full-featured robe, and his face had the same features as Li Changa, with a faint sneer on his face, looking down at all living beings. At this moment, Li Changa seemed to have become a messenger of light, the incarnation of light, and the light of justice. The giant Li Changa slowly raised his palm and pressed down on the ghost-tide and apostles everywhere. The whole world paused for a moment due to the appearance of the giant of light. Whether it was a human, a dog or a ghost, their eyes widened subconsciously. Apostles, trench. Su Jingjing, should I strangle a big straw? Emperor Wang Tian, Wang Kou. After a second of dead silence, the same thought flashed through everyone's mind. They all knew that Li Changa's move was suspected of being fake. But this beep is too big. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 593. Except for the secret of being trained by Yi Lin in the little deer touching the ground position all night. Su Jingjing also has a little secret. No one knows the secret. That's her experience. She is a proud elf archer. After Su Anjing obtained pure elf blood, under the instruction of the Elf Queen, she entered a place called Green Siang Elf Archer Vocational Academy and conducted systematic studies. Luxiang means, green is abundant, my heart is flying. Probably. Of course, it doesn't matter. Here comes the important secret. She has always been bragging in front of her best friends and acquaintances about how awesome she was when she was in college, and she could come all over the world. But the fact is, she couldn't successfully graduate from Luxiang Academy. In addition to Su Anjing's excellent results in archery, other books such as War and Peace, on how to maintain youth, plant cultivation, on elf body care after marriage, pharmacology and physiology, compulsory elf courses such as local anatomy and introduction to elementary traps all received unprecedented failing grades. She was actually the worst student in that class. Every medicine you prepare, every arrow you shoot, you must know its function, otherwise how can you detoxify it? You must clearly know the body structure and weaknesses of each race and each creature, otherwise where will your arrow hit? You must clearly understand how to take care of your body after marriage. Otherwise, how can you represent the elves on the continent and recreate the glory of the elves? The painstaking teachings of every teacher back then are in my ears as if they were yesterday. Su Jingjing also wants to learn. But all your stacks of books are longer than the walls of the capital city of Hyrule. Are you crazy? In the continent that Su Anjing experienced, elves are a race with long lifespans. They have a long time to learn knowledge that even the most human beings may not be able to finish in a lifetime. Although Su Anjing has acquired elf blood, in her bones, no, in her soul, she is a serious human being. No human being can have the patience to study amidst trials. She believed not. So Su Anjing decided to take another path. Poison. Why should I know how to cure the poison based on my ability? Since I can't tell what kind of poison is quenched on each arrow, then I just need to shoot them all. Isn't that what I need? Where to shoot? If I insert the opponent into a porcupine, he will die no matter what, so do I still have to use an artistic form? Su Anjing decided to take an unusual path as an elf shooter. She doesn't need to remember what every poison does, or even the recipe for every poison, or be able to target weak spots. All she had to do was cultivate the seeds in that warehouse, mix them together according to her mood, and then shoot them on any unlucky guy. Memories flashed quickly in Su Jingjing's mind. She couldn't help but sigh. She didn't expect that this road would really go like this. Since ancient times, any genius who has the ability to establish a sect has always been unable to be understood by others. Real arrows, mixed in with the special effects, landed on everyone. All red names are strange. Su Anjing aimed at the color on the opponent's forehead. The arrow would not miss, and there was no need to deliberately aim. It would always hit something. Some of those who were hit by arrows were paralyzed, some were foaming at the mouth, some clamped their legs, some had diarrhea on the spot, some had black eyes, some rolled their eyes and fell to the ground with red and numb faces. To be honest, except for those arrows that are particularly easy to recognize, even Su Jingjing himself didn't know the effect of the other arrows before he shot them. Thousands of apostles fell down, and dozens of ghosts were covered with long arrows of various colors. So cruel. After shooting a wave of arrows, an even more brilliant light rose into the sky behind Su Anjing. Behind Li Chang'e, special effects light condensed into a smiling giant Li Chang'e of light, hundreds of meters tall, covering the sky. Regardless of whether this giant of light can be beaten or not, the special effects and momentum of the moment are enough to scare people until their limbs become weak. With the outbreak of Li Chang'e, the apostle who was unharmed in the hail of real and fake arrows just now reacted. The rolling roar is like thunder, spread across the battlefield. It's fake. It's so fake. That stupid Li Chang'e is all about bluffing people. Everything. It's all an illusion. An illusion. You can't scare me. The words just fell. The palm of giant Li Chang'e of light, as huge as a hill, pressed down with a crash. Yeah. Li Chang'e straightened his back and asked with a chuckle. At that moment, his strength was at full capacity. The style is overflowing. Yilin shook her head helplessly. Normally, Yilin would be too lazy to cooperate with Li Chang'e's pretense. But obviously, at this moment, it would be more beneficial to the overall situation to cooperate with Li Chang'e in a wave of output. In the midst of all kinds of monsters, Li Chang'e couldn't stand it anymore and insisted on showing off as a tank to attract hatred. Yilin really couldn't think of any reason not to agree to it. That's right. Yilin chuckled, and in conjunction with the palm movements of light giant Li Chang'e, he outputted a wave of invisible telekinesis. Boom! A clear palm print appeared in the ghost tide. Wherever the huge palm pressed, all the bloated and rotten flesh and ghosts were instantly crushed into dregs, turned into blood, and reintegrated into the world. In an instant, Li Chang'e's giant palm cleared an open area. Hiss! The Li Chang'e special effects condensed during Li Chang'e's chat and laughter are originally fakes with no offensive power. But with Yilin's secret cooperation, he exerted a power that stunned everyone. Even if Yilin did it herself, the deterrent effect might not be that strong. After all, Li Chang'e's special effects, BGM, and lighting are all perfect. To a certain extent, the special effects of Li Chang'e, the giant of light, have reached the level of cannot kill people but can hurt people's hearts and cause zero damage realm. So realistic. What a fool. This unscientific. And in that slap pit, the apostle who looked angry just now and shouted hallucination, fake and cannot scare me, was lying in the middle with his limbs curled up. This posture seemed inexplicably familiar. Yilin felt like she had seen it somewhere. The strong man with thick skin and strong flesh had countless broken bones. He was vomiting blood and struggled to get up. So Yilin didn't care about the posture of lying down, and gave a small slap while everyone else was shocked by the terrifying power of Li Chang'e, the giant of light. Boom! The ground shook again. This time, although the giant statue of Li Chang'e did not lower its palms, the slight tremor was invariably thought of as an aftershock. Finally died. 3. As expected of a strong man with thick skin and strong endurance, he actually only died twice. Yilin frowned. He was not thinking like this because of Versailles, but he was really carefully calculating the consumption of spiritual energy. Hiss. The sound of gasping for air was endless. Originally they thought they had seen through everything. Li Changa's skills are all fake. But when it suddenly happened, it was hard to accept. The strong contrast creates a strong shock and style. Li Changa was high-spirited and smiled like a child. In mid-air, the dazzling light giant Li Changa was pressed into the pile of monsters one after another. Boom. Have you ever seen palm techniques falling from the sky? Boom. Do you know what it means that if God did not give birth to me, Li Changa, then eternity would be like a long night? Boom. Do you know that with this little strength, I am only at the bottom of the team? However, killing you is enough. Boom. Li Changa, times. Yulin, square root, went crazy. The apostles were beaten so hard that they ran away with their heads in their hands. But it was already surrounded by ghosts on all sides. Whether it's your own ghost or someone else's ghost. There is no way to retreat, and there is no way to avoid it. One by one, the apostles died tragically. Yilin, Su Jingping, Wang Tiandi, and Li Changa worked together to harvest the lives of the apostles. At this time, no one would say it was cruel, or whether it should be killed. Perhaps killing is their main theme. With the death of each apostle, the ghosts surrounding the giant black ball disappeared in pieces. Notice. This disappearance of ghosts is not the previous suspended death that turned into blood and merged into a pool of blood. With the death of the apostle, the ghosts born from the apostle dissipated with no possibility of resurrection. For Li Changa, this is a business with no capital and huge profits. Brewing emotions, controlling emotions, and mastering emotions are the basic qualities of an actor. It is precisely because of this that no Li Changa ghost was born in this beautiful mental space of Gaegeum. Although the Li Changa ghost born may not have any lethality other than posing to show off, it can be seen from this that Li Changa's ability to control emotions has been honed to the point of perfection. All his emotions are fake, but they are also real. It's so realistic that it can produce special effects, and it's so fake that Gaegeum's weird abilities cannot be used to create corresponding weirdness through Li Changa's negative emotions. Amidst the joint attack of Li Changa and Yilin, Su Jingjing and Guzi were not idle either. Needless to say, dogs can bring up a piece of flesh and blood every time they fly and land. But Su Anjing was really quiet. Every time he bent his bow, he only shot one arrow. It seemed low-key, but every arrow seemed to have eyes, passing through the narrow gap with extremely precise accuracy, and nailed the apostles' knees, making them unable to escape, and were killed in place by the combined attack of Yilin and Li Changa. Everyone was killed by Yilin's team in the chaos. Those who were still alive after struggling to hold on were already cursing in their hearts. This team is toxic. No one noticed. As the apostles line up one by one to die and the ghosts are annihilated, the size of the motionless sphere suspended in the air is shrinking to a degree that is difficult to discern with the naked eye. Because there was too much chaos at the scene, even if someone noticed it, they might think it was their own illusion. About there. Yilin always maintained her senses and multitasked. Although he seemed relaxed, he was actually the most tired. While cooperating with Li Changa to show off, he must also control the reasonable consumption of spiritual energy, and he must be alert to changes that may occur at any time. Su Jingjing, Li Changa, and Wang Tiandi were all excited, and their smiles gradually became abnormal. Yilin's expression gradually became serious as the number of living apostles decreased. Yilin warned others in the team channel. Don't get too carried away. The main show is almost here. Yilin never mentioned her thoughts and plans to anyone else from beginning to end. As soon as these words came out, Su Jingjing and Wang Tiandi looked slightly stunned. What? Isn't it serious drama if everyone is killed like this? Are you planning to kill everyone? So cruel. You haven't completed the second main task yet. As soon as you get a chance, touch the black ball. Li Chang'e, Wang Tiandi, and Su Jingjing were tricked to death for no apparent reason in Kanzaki City. So far, the mission progress is still stuck in the second stage. Yilin's words finally made them realize that they hadn't completed the mission yet. Touch. At this time, no one has time to ask why Pandora's box is related to the uncomfortable-looking black ball. But out of trust in Yilin and believing that their president would not trap them to death, the two of them and one dog continued to kill the enemy red name randomly while shooting at the black ball that had shrunk in size. Near. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 594. Touch, touch. Starve the timid to death and starve the bold to death. The world is huge and the task is the biggest. During the trial, there was nothing the apostle could not do in order to complete his mission. If you can't do it, either the difficulty of the task is too high, or the punishment of the task is not severe enough. Yilin opened the way intentionally or unintentionally. Wang Tiandi, Li Chang'e, and Su Jingjing hugged each other and drove straight in. They came directly to the giant black ball. Originally, the original intention of the other apostles was just to blow up this ball. They suspect that Gyajiamimi's true identity is hidden in the ball. Now, two people and one dog are approaching the ball openly, no one can stop them, and there is nothing to stop them. If you really want to come together, just say so. It's not like we won't let you. You kill me when you say it, why? Everyone couldn't understand why Yilin's team suddenly went crazy and took action as soon as they were told. Their goals are indeed the same as ours. Kudo Shinji tried his best to not stand out so much and tried to hide his outstanding qualities as much as possible. While he was dodging Su Jingping's arrows, Goza's claws, and Li Chang'e's giant palm, Kudo Shinji did not forget to pay attention to the movements of Yilin's team. When they moved, Kudo Shinji suddenly understood. It turns out that it's to grab reviews. In the trial, it is not incomprehensible for people to perform various tricks in order to obtain a higher clearance rating than others. But you are so cruel. This team is poisonous. Mission accomplished. Su Anjing was afraid that he would not be able to complete the task, so he used all his strength to hit the ball in front of him. The giant ball was dented under Su Jingjing's fist, but the strange material of the Q-bomb returned to its original shape in the blink of an eye. Its elasticity was even more ridiculous than silicone. I'm done too. Woof. Li Chang'e, Su Jingjing, and Wang Tiandi, two people and one dog, completed the tasks in no particular order with the help of Yilin. The content of main task 3 then emerged before their eyes. Kill the Wraith Spirit Gyajiamimi. Before the mission progress was updated, they still couldn't figure out why these sub-apostles were so obsessed with this sphere. When the third main mission came out, they all came to their senses. So that's it, it turns out that the true form of Gyajiamimi is hidden in that ball. Isn't this egg hatching? After Su Jingjing completed the second main task, his hand speed did not slow down, and he shot randomly into other people's knees, and said some possibilities that he thought of. Possible. Li Chang'e maintained his emotions and continued to scare others with the giant of light, casually echoing. At this time, Kudo Shinji stepped on the lightning and moved in mid-air. He squinted his eyes and looked at Yilin, who was as calm and composed as an old monk in trance in the far distance. He gritted his teeth to suppress his anger. After carefully considering his tone, he spoke in a way that would not form a hostile relationship with Yilin's team. The rhetoric loudly said. You should have killed enough, right? Finally someone dared to stand up. Kudo Shinji actually took the initiative to come forward, which surprised everyone who survived. He asked this all the time. Li Chang'e and Su Jingjing were thin-skinned and a little embarrassed to do anything. One stopped to draw his bow, another stopped to show off, and they all turned their heads in unison to see what their guild leader had to say. After all, they had been killing for so long, except for Li Chang'e, Su Jingjing and Wang Tiandi had consumed a lot of money, and besides following Yi Lin's command, they still couldn't figure out the meaning of this kind of killing. My hands are weak. Su Jingjing shook his wrist calmly. Li Chang'e rubbed his thighs without changing his expression. After Wang Tiandi slapped a wounded apostle to death, he swung his tail and flew over the heads of others. Enjoying the angry eyes of others, he landed at Yi Lin's feet and rubbed Yi Lin's. The trouser legs are dressed up as an ordinary licking dog. Yi Lin looked at Kyuda Shinji. Kyuda Shinji's sword was flashing with lightning, and his short hair stood on end. It was obvious that he had the idea of fighting back desperately. Is it enough? Yi Lin looked at the faint shadow under her feet and said to herself. One by one, the scarred apostles, stimulated by Kudo Shinji, stepped out one after another to speak for themselves. Xiang Bassian put on his gloves and pulled out the poisonous arrow stuck in his hip. But the poison on the arrow seemed to have little effect on him. He took a deep breath, and a dangerous light flashed in his eyes. Xiang Bassian first glanced at Su Anjing, and finally his eyes fell on Yi Lin. It's too much. Zhou Buchan looked helpless and quickly bandaged his wounds. Since we can be in the same trial, the difference in strength should not be so great. It seems that your consumption is not small. At this point, if you continue to kill, you will force us to join forces. Chu Yalian puffed out his chest and made no secret of his extraordinary qualities. Her eyes opened and closed, vertical pupils flashed, and fine animal hair grew on the flat ends of her face. Chu Yalian smiled tenderly. The rest of the people are almost dead. If we continue to kill them, we won't have enough manpower to defeat the boss. The delicate Chu Yalian spoke softly, but everyone present was amazed. How could they not hear and see the hidden ferocity in Chu Yalian's words? Wang Yang had a dark face and stepped out step by step through bloody water. Her pair of fishnet stockings had a lot of rips, and the white flesh leaked out. She silently lit a thin cigarette, puffed away the smoke for a moment, and smiled in Yi Lin's direction. Little brat, don't underestimate people, you should have killed enough. Is it enough? Yi Lin didn't look at anyone, just stared at the shadow under her feet, and asked herself again. Chen Xiaoxiao pursed her lips and looked away from Chu Yalian's clothes. She suddenly activated her ability, and green poisonous vines grew wildly from her skin, like flexible little snakes, surrounding Chen Xiaoxiao, swaying flexibly in various postures. I see, he doesn't take us seriously at all. Yi Lin killed people who were easier to kill. When people die, ghosts are destroyed. The place was quite empty. Chu Yalian, Chen Xiaoxiao, Xiang Bassian, and others came here after the world fusion and have not yet fully understood the mechanism of this mental image space. Not many ghosts were born based on their template. On the contrary, Kudo Shinji had figured out a lot of tricks, and ferocious ghosts with knives all over their bodies were entrenched beside him. Is it enough? Before Yi Lin finished speaking, the next second, she appeared strangely in the crowd. Boom! An agile side who was gearing up and waiting for an opportunity suddenly saw blood exploding from his head. Is it enough? After a few seconds, Yi Lin strangely appeared behind another person and fired a shot. Boom! Is it enough? Boom! Is it enough? Boom! In just 1 minute, Yi Lin killed 4 people in a row. That tone that was as calm as crushing an ant, that weird way of moving, that killing without warning, every time Yi Lin said something, an apostle was shot to death in different places. Enough, enough, enough. Stop killing. If you continue to kill them all, they will all die. Su Jingjin opened his mouth wide and trembled. When Yi Lin killed the second one, she had already realized that her guild leader was a little too much and too hateful. Subconsciously trying to stop it. But before she could speak, Yulin had already fired the third shot, faster than her agile side. More importantly, she didn't dare. No one dares. For the first time, such a harmonious scene appeared in this strange mental space. Around the giant black ball, no one, no matter whether they were humans, ghosts, or dogs, dared to move or speak. Even their breathing was kept to a minimum, for fear of attracting Yulin's attention. The actions of ghosts follow human hearts, and even people are afraid of them, so ghosts don't dare to move. At this moment, all the ghosts seemed to be produced by the same negative emotion. Fear. Killing is actually not too difficult for everyone. Even if someone doesn't like it, they will still take action when it's time to take action. Everything is the tower's mission. But killing is as simple as Yulin. Kill as calmly as Yulin. Kill as easily as Yulin. Unheard of. At this moment, Yulin was like a beast in human skin in their eyes. Her movements and eyes made it impossible for them to taste even a trace of popularity. What's more, Yulin is like a paranoid, while killing, staring at his own shadow, muttering to himself, "Is it enough, this situation, it's so scary. Go home. We want to go home." Someone started to break down. "I can't stand my mentality any longer." Yulin's killing continues. He has too many abilities. He is good at wind abilities, weird movements, summoning pet dogs, and maybe other skills. Spread out. Don't fight him head on. Come on as a tank and step forward to attract his hatred. Kudo Shinji has already thoroughly analyzed Yulin's abilities. From the very beginning, he regarded Yulin as his enemy. As soon as these words came out, the others felt as if they had woken up from a nightmare, and their whole bodies felt as if they had been poured with ice water, making them hard and cold. But those who still survived were not slow to move. When they heard Kudo Shinji's words, they scattered and stayed away from Yulin. What Kudo Shinji meant by his words was that he obviously regarded Yulin as the final boss in the trial to be besieged and killed. Yulin finally stopped. There was an empty circle around it. 10 meters away from him was the black sphere. The black water on the sphere is like the boundless Black Sea, flowing slowly. Everyone dispersed. Don't dare to get close. The ghosts corresponding to the apostles can run faster than themselves. There were even a few ghosts who accidentally fell to death while running wildly, causing an astonishing splash of water. President. Su Jingjing hesitated for a few seconds and gritted her teeth. She subconsciously thought that Yulin was controlled by a ghost, and she didn't dare to step forward. After all, there is a lesson learned from the past. Not long ago, she was shot to death by another Yulin ghost with a backhand shot, and she died miserably. The dog's nose twitched, and he felt strange. The smell clearly belonged to a poop shoveler, so why was he behaving so abnormally? Is it enough? Yulin lowered his head and asked again. This time, he did not continue to take action, but looked at the shadow at his feet. In his shadow, where his eyes were, two gaps suddenly opened, as if the shadow opened its eyes. If you don't come out, I will kill you. I'm curious. If you don't fill it with enough resentment and you forcefully make a wish, what will happen? Yurin smiled, Mudo Yurin. After a moment of dead silence. From the shadow under Yulin's feet, a pale palm suddenly stretched out, its fingers like hooks, and grabbed Yulin's feet. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 595. I have killed many people. Killed many monsters. But I have never tried to cut myself. In front of Otamai. It is a pure black space. Underfoot is a black water lake without any waves. Stepping on the lake, Otamai can neither sink nor cause too much water. Walking slowly, circles of black ripples appeared behind Otamai. As far as the eye can see, about 100 meters away, a black-haired girl wearing a white dress quietly steps on the black water lake, becoming the only pure white in the black. It seems that the girl's existence is like an indestructible white lotus in the mud. The irony is that Oda Mai knows very well that that white lotus is the most evil being in the entire trial and should be killed. Cut her to death and everything should be over. You can go back. Cough cough cough. Oda Mai opened her mouth and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. It adds a touch of bright red to this pure black space. But when she was coughing up blood, Oda Mai's mind flashed to that shelter in the snowy mountains, where the sky was full of heavy snow and crystal clear. The scene that flashed through her mind made Oda Mai's mouth slightly raise, as if she was smiling. A dark-skinned figure stood opposite Oda Mai. Face to face. That figure was wearing a samurai uniform from Japan that was exactly the same as what Mai Oda remembered. The black color blended into the background. The facial features were almost indistinguishable from those of Mai Oda, except that the skin was a bit darker. In the hands of another Oda Mai, she held two swords, one long and one short, in a posture familiar to Oda Mai, as tall and motionless as Mount Fuji. Not long ago, Oda Mai fought with the opponent. She was covered in scars. But Mai Oda didn't touch even a single hair of the opponent's head. She was obviously familiar with every move the opponent used, but the effect she exerted from the opponent's hands was a level higher than Oda Mai's. In addition, Oda Mai now only has one arm and cannot perform her best 210 first class. Yes. That was obviously her most familiar and standard two-day first-class stance. But why can't he kill her? Not scientific. Oda Mai was confused. There were hideous knife marks, and the bones were visible deep inside. Oda Mai's health was approaching the edge of danger. But none of this was taken seriously by Oda Mai. There was only one thought left in her mind. An innocent thought, very much like childhood thoughts. Kick her to death, then chop to death the boss behind, and call it a day. You are too weak. You are too weak. Your knife can cut through everything. Yeah. Why do you keep cutting? I am not at all confused. I am moving forward bravely. I give up my life and forget about death. 9 mountains and 8 seas, there is no such thing as self. But I keep cutting myself. Strange voices have been whispering in Oda Mai's ears from the beginning. Her only remaining right arm held a strange knife. She was very familiar with this knife. It was a knife made by her master when she started her apprenticeship. Sakura Mai Ikemonji. However, the master's knife was stained with something. Not pure anymore. Oda Mai originally wanted to change it to an Imurakunitsuna, which is a family heirloom sword. But there is nothing we can do. Sakura Mai Ikemonji, the densely packed eyeballs on the handle of the knife and the protruding pseudopods pierced deeply into Oda Mai's flesh and could not be separated or cut. After arriving at this place, I don't know when, Sakura Mai Ikemonji and Oda Mai's hands grew together. It's so noisy. Small murmurs seem to come from the knife. It's like it's coming from the back of my mind. It's so noisy. Oda Mai gritted her teeth and took a step. Ripples came out. She was lying low, low, low. It is said that the lower a swordsman lies down when making a move, the more powerful the move will be. Her slash was very low and very fast. But the opponent, Black Oda Mai, is faster, higher and stronger than her. 2 heavens first-class secrets, all the 10 directions will be destroyed. The familiar secret was revealed from the opponent's hands. It was also the first time that Mai Oda tasted her ultimate move. Laugh. The sharp cross-shaped sword light came from a distance as soon as Oda Mai started to move, and struck Oda Mai fiercely. From the chest to the back. Oda Mai's body seemed to be torn in half, and with a pia sound, more than a dozen fountains of blood spurted out from the cross-shaped wound on her chest. If there was an audience for this weird duel at this time, no matter who it was, they would subconsciously feel that such an exaggerated amount of bleeding would definitely mean death. Lost. Oda Mai had no expression on her face, and with a flash of sword light, she knelt limply on the ground, and these two words flashed before her eyes. Die. After a while, another word flashed before her eyes, as well as a question mark. She didn't believe it. She didn't believe she would die. Never believed it. But the revolving door has started to float. She had heard that once you get out of the revolving door, death is not far away. What to do? The past, the present, the past, bit by bit, her life flashed quickly before her eyes. The scene finally freezes before Oda Mai's eyes. At this moment, Oda Mai felt like she was floating in front of a revolving door. She chose one of the scenes and walked in. It was a garden full of cherry blossom trees. Little Oda Mai, who is a few years younger than the current Oda Mai, is practicing swordsmanship. Yes, it seems that in her life, besides knives, she has knives. An old man with grey hair and neatly dressed clothes was squatting with a smile on his face, eating grapes and spitting out grape skins. Spit. 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 The sound of spitting out grape skins was connected with the sound of Ko Oda dancing his sword through the air. Xiao Wu, your knife is wrong. Xiao Oda Mai had no expression on her face and slowly typed a question mark. She felt that what the master said was wrong. The master took Mai Oda's sword with a smile. Now, Wu, do you know? There are two types of strongest swords in the world, swords with no distractions, and swords with distractions. What's the meaning? Oda Mai flat-mouthed. When she was a child, she subconsciously didn't believe whatever her master said. Because in her impression, the master always likes to lie. Do not know why. Later Oda Mai knew why. Because the master, in the year when the satellite fell, suddenly turned into a strange creature called an apostle. From that day on, the master became fond of lying. He kept telling lies and was extremely insidious. Look, master, let me show you. The master raised the knife and swung it gently. Aha! The knife seemed to tremble in an ordinary way. The falling cherry blossoms were cut in half. Wow! The next second, a cherry blossom tree not far away broke diagonally, and the fracture was as smooth as a mirror. The master cut off the cherry blossom tree with one stroke, his expression a bit proud. You see, in the eyes of the master, there is no difference between cherry blossoms and cherry blossom trees. There is only this knife in the master's hands, eyes, and heart. So, master, it's so easy to cut down the cherry blossom tree. This is a knife that is focused on nothing. A knife with no distractions can cut through all things. Xiao Oda Mai was not convinced, so she snatched the knife from her master's hand. Batu style, a flash. Aha! Another tree also suffered. I can chop, too. The master finally snatched the knife back. The tree Oda Mai cut down just now seemed to have been planted when the spring was warm and the flowers were blooming the year before last, which made her feel a little sad. If I had known better, I would not have used the cherry blossom tree in the yard as an example. The cherry blossom tree is obviously innocent. Anyway. The master gave another example. Have no choice. I can only use cherry blossom trees. After all, the head has already been opened and it is not good to give up halfway. Look. The master raised his knife again and pointed towards another thriving cherry blossom tree. Xiao Oda Mai was hesitant to speak, but in the end she said nothing more to see what the master wanted to do. Aha! The master's wrist flicked again. Xiao Oda Mai felt at that time that when the master cut this knife, something seems different. But at that time, little Oda Mai didn't have time to notice the difference between the two swords. Crash! The tree fell again. But this time, none of the cherry blossoms falling along the way were disturbed by the sword energy, and even the falling speed of 5 centimeters per second did not change. It feels like a master's knife quietly touched a handful of cherry blossoms and finally chopped down the tree. This is the knife with a distracted mind, the master said while closing his eyes. For the first time, in the master's eyes, hands, and heart, there is no difference between cherry blossoms and cherry blossom trees. They are both existences that can be cut. So the master is not distracted. But the second time, master, by the way, do you see any difference? When he was about to tell the answer, the master suddenly woke up. He was teaching people now, not pretending, so he randomly asked the test questions. Cherry blossoms. Otamai said calmly. That's right, the master softly praised Otamai's high understanding, sheathed the long sword, and said with a slight smile, the second time, the master had cherry blossoms in his heart, hands, and eyes. So in order to protect the cherry blossoms, the master, in order to become Sakura's sword, I cut a sword that is faster than a sword that is not focused on anything else. This is a sword that is focused on something else. A knife with a distracted mind can cut off what I want to cut, but it can also cut off what I don't want to cut. Otamai looked at the broken cherry blossom tree and fell into a long silence. Understand? Master. That tree. What's wrong? I planted it with my own hands for my birthday last year. That year. Otamai didn't understand what a knife with something else in mind meant. At that time, she only noticed that there was a slight difference when the master cut the two swords, but Otamai could not see the difference or see through it. But now, at this moment, her time seemed to freeze, a flash of lightning in her life. Otamai entered that scene again, and she stared at her master's face carefully. Finally got it? Turn out to be. When the master cut out the knife that said heart is distracted / laughing. The master made this cut with a smile. I have other things on my mind. Kuro Otamai walked towards him step by step. Behind Kuro Otamai, Gyajiamaimi stared at Mai Ota, who was covered in blood and kneeling on the lake, with a sly smile on her lips. Looking at Mai Kuro Ota walking towards her, she seemed to see her former self. Regardless of everything, move forward without any distractions. This is her obsession. Cut off the obsession of all things. Because her obsession is too strong, she is so strong. The only way to kill this faker is to transcend your own obsession. But what can surpass one's own obsession? Then, just change your obsession. A familiar smiling face appeared in my mind. Otamai stood up again in a pool of blood. After a while, she smiled slightly. Da-da-da. Otamai's light footsteps were like dancing on the lake, and she walked past her other self with a smile. A knife gently cut through the darkness. Goodbye. The Me in the Past. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 596. Mental Image World. Corpses were everywhere, pieces of flesh were drifting, and all ghosts were retreating. There was an empty circle around Yilin. At this moment, and until now, he is more like a ghost than a ghost, and is regarded as a boss. Some people are even thinking that if Yilin is so crazy about killing, he will not even spare his own people. His understatement of killing one with one shot was mind-numbing, but it also made people marvel at his terrifying strength. There is no way this kind of person can only reach the third level. Cheating. There is no other explanation other than cheating. Even Kudo Shinji, who was also on the spiritual side, had bloodshot eyes and couldn't tell what skills and movements Yilin used to mysteriously shuttle around the battlefield and take away the heads one by one. This team is poisonous. More than one person thinks so. Whether it's Otamai's random killing performance or Yirin's current behavior of surrendering to become the boss, people all feel that this team is extremely poisonous. Is it enough? Muto Irin. When Yilin lowered his head, inexplicably nervous, and said these words to his own shadow, a slightly pale palm stretched out from Yilin's shadow. The shadow, which was originally nothing special, suddenly rippled in circles, as if it merged with the black water under its feet and became a space passage. Boom! Yilin's expression remained unchanged. He had already noticed that the shadow that should have disappeared reappeared. This appears so inexplicably that there is no reason for it to be strange. With a blast of his palm, Yilin flew back and flew high into the sky. At that moment, the ripples of space folding between Yilin and shadow made a deafening sound. The violent blast blew everything around him away. Only the pool of black water under my feet seemed to be firmly attached to the ground, without any splash caused by the collision of this wave of thought power. I knew I couldn't hide it from myself. Muto Yurin, who was all wet, climbed out of the shadow with a smile, raised his head, and looked at Yurin, who was walking in the air. After killing everyone in Kanzaki City, Iron Muto mysteriously disappeared and reappeared in a weirder way. Haha, if it were me, I would never say such a scene at such a time. Yurin squinted his eyes, watching the black water dripping down to the ground along Muto Yurin's hair, and pondered for a moment. Yilin's solemn expression suddenly relaxed and she laughed. I was just thinking about how many more people I need to kill and how many fertilizers I need to destroy to force you out. I did the math and assumed that your behavior is the same as mine. It should be almost done. Those who deserve to die and those who don't deserve to die are all dead. Yeah, it's really difficult to compete against myself. Muto Iron said with a smile, it's difficult in every sense of the word. The others had already been shocked by this sudden change, and their whole bodies, including their mouths and nostrils, were all open to express their shock and hummed up feelings. What a fuss! Why are there two Yilins? One is not enough? Aren't the two of them going to be destroyed together? Their mood at the moment. It was like when a boss stood in front of them with LV999 on his head. They finally observed in secret, thinking that they had figured out most of the boss's skills and mechanisms, and were about to muster up the courage to fight a beautiful team battle. The boss shook on the spot and pulled out another one. Boss. Doubles. This wave turned out to be a doubles match. Something's wrong. Zhenzian Hui had a sullen face. With the help of the powerful defense ability of material assimilation, he transformed into a metal material and became indestructible, surviving waves of arrows, random killings, sharp teeth, and dog claws. As a serious power player, his spiritual energy value was not enough for him to squander his skills unscrupulously. When he saw another Yilin appearing strangely, his face turned dark and he didn't know who to kill. There is indeed something wrong. Kudo Shinji squinted his eyes and observed for a moment. Suddenly his eyes widened, and his pupils shrank into the classic needle shape in the novel. I understand. That's it? That's it? We were deceived. We started from I was deceived from the beginning. You. What's the meaning? The one who has been following us in Kanzaki City is not the real Yirin, but another Yirin. The other one. Ghost. It's Yilin's ghost. What kind of ghost can look exactly like the real person? Some people didn't believe it. But reason told them that what Kudo Shinji said was true. This is the truth. There is only one truth. Only in this way can we explain the reason why Yilin trapped them to death in Kanzaki City. In this kind of cooperative trial, others will not be pitted to death. After all, everyone's only thought is to leave this world alive. It's not a wise choice to trick everyone to death and leave you to fight the final boss alone. What's more, it is the choice of a serious spiritual person. But didn't he kill a lot just now? Someone murmured an objection. There are very few people left alive. Only a few people. Those who can survive until now either have a lot of life-saving skills, or are extremely insidious and can see through all kinds of traps, or the other is just lucky. During a quick exchange of opinions between several people, Yilin and Muto Yilin were already fighting together in the sky. The endless skill light effects cover the sky. In the dark world, two figures, one black and one white, became the center of attention. When Li Changa saw the fake Yilin reappearing, he cleverly cancelled Li Chang'e, the giant of light, to avoid being worried about the fake Yulin. At this time, it will never go wrong to be more low-key, restrain your brilliance, hide your handsomeness, and be more modest. President Su Jingjing was worried. In fact, she doesn't really care about Yuren. After all, their relationship is not that close. What she worries about is that once Yulin loses in a duel, none of the rest of them can beat another fake Yulin who has the same skills and abilities as Yulin, and they will definitely die. Others may not know Yulin's strength, but Jingjing may know it. The president of their family is one of the top 50 in the district server, qualified to found a guild, one of the top 100 in the world, and the president of the world's #1 guild Apocalypse. Even if you name one of these titles, it will scare the hell out of everyone else. Legs feel weak. What's more, these halos are all gathered on the same person's forehead. Why is the ghost of my own president so perverted? Etc. Su Jingjing's expression was startled. She suddenly discovered a flaw in herself. She discovered a flaw in her thinking. Why do we have to challenge each other? Is this the time for a duel? A gang fight? Everyone do it together. Su Jingjing shouted loudly. She suddenly discovered a blind spot. This isn't an arena battle? Singled out for what? Group fighting is the way to go. Su Anjing immediately bent his bow and shot an arrow. The milky white light condensed into small needle-like dots on the arrow tips, and shot towards Muto Iron one by one. Muto Iron sneered. While fighting Yulin in the air, he skillfully gathered a series of telekinetic protective walls around him to block Su Anjing's holy light arrow from outside. The most difficult thing about Iron Muto is that in addition to being unkillable, he also possesses Iron's almost complete memory and methods. Even if he does not have the status of an apostle and does not have the corresponding skills, he can still use the secrets of this world to kill him. The effect and power of skills are simulated. Very tricky. With Su Anjing's reminder, the others woke up from their dreams. Among the people alive, several had experienced severe beatings by Yulin's team and had already harbored resentments. Su Jingjing's words also reminded them that now is not the time to watch a man and a ghost duel in the air. Gang fight? Beat. Someone is moving. Everyone, come together. We can't kill him in a single fight, so now is the best chance. Otherwise, once he recovers, all of us will not be able to go home. Zhen Xianhui changed his mind very quickly. Zhen Xianhui held the blade in her hand, and the exposed skin color all over her body turned into a metallic color with flowing light. The S-level skill material assimilation is really powerful, and it can break out of all kinds of strange ghosts. I have to say that this person also has a few tricks up his sleeve. Same. Some people take action, while others hesitate. It is difficult for the apostles to unite and work together. 3 or 4 people were quick-thinking, gritted their teeth, and stepped forward. After Zhen Xianhui took action, their feet suddenly exerted force and flew into the air. They used their skills and props to kill the 2 figures of real and fake Yulin who were fighting together in the air. Kill! 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 The murderous intention condensed in the heart, and bloated ghosts gathered from the black water. The vast army of ghosts, driven by the murderous intentions of several apostles, rushed into the air like a wave. Fortunately, in the real world, Yulin has never had the habit of flying very high due to the existence of restricted air zones. Regardless of the physical fitness of the apostle or the abnormal ability of the ghost, the attack can land on Yulin more than 10 meters in the air. Ren and Iron Muto. Kill. Zhen Xianhui's eyes are like steel. No, at this moment, he is just steel, just iron. Kudo Shinji's eyes flickered. After hesitating for a moment, the lightning flashed. With the help of the power of thunder, the tip of the knife carried a sharp lightning and killed Yulin. At this moment, he is light and electricity. He is like the only myth. In the high air, one man and one sword wield the power of thunder with the help of strange skills. Shooting and shooting. Su Anjing looked at the vast wave of ghosts and the figures of several apostles, and felt something was wrong. Their attacks. Not heading towards Iron Muto. The person they are planning to kill, is Yilin. It's very simple. Chen Xiaoxio's eyes flickered, and he whispered not far away, ghosts cannot be killed under normal circumstances. Therefore, in order to solve the current situation, killing the main body is the best way. It is also the most effective way. Once the main body dies, the ghost will be wiped out and can no longer be kept. In fact, she was thinking about it just now. A rare opportunity. But for some reason, Chen Xiaoxiao hesitated. Including Xiang Bassian and others. Being used to being insidious, I always felt something was wrong. It doesn't make sense. There is nothing about the entire trial that makes sense. Zhen Xianhui took the lead and flew up, like an iron bird spreading its wings, and punched Yilin in the back. Kudo Shinji's knife struck Yilin's neck from another direction. He is very experienced in killing people. Many apostles possess certain healing powers. Some are so outrageous that even the position of the heart can be changed. Kudo Shinji has never seen anyone who could survive after being decapitated. I believe that I will never see it. As long as I am still a human being, if my head is cut off, I will definitely die. Suddenly, Muto and Iron, who were fighting fiercely, seemed to have no time to think about it. But just when Zhen Xianhui, Kudo Shinji, and others were about to kill Yilin's back. Click. Click. The sound of two bullets being loaded sounded simultaneously. The real and fake Yilin turned around at the same time without any warning, as if they had a clear understanding of each other. With the same frowning expression, the same tone, and the same tone, with 3 parts confusion, 3 parts discomfort, and 3 parts indifference, and 1 part too hidden to know what it is, he said the same sentence. Who are you sending it to? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 597. Clang. An ordinary psychic bullet hit Zhen Xianhui's forehead. Leave a small hole. But the bullet was deflected. The real and fake Yilin took action at the same time and said, "Who can you send it to?" which scared Zhen Xianhui. He thought he was dead. After being able to deflect Yilin's bullet with her stainless steel forehead, Zhen Xianhui was overjoyed. It turns out I can. It turns out I can do it too. Sure enough. Sorry, there was a mistake. It's this way. But Zhen Xianhui's ecstatic emotions had not yet had time to flood her face and show it. Yilin smiled and raised the destruction revolver in his right hand, and the bright bullets flickered in the barrel. The point is, breathe. Breath work. Break the defense. This bullet has been stored for a while, and its power is barely acceptable. Zhen Xian. Boom. No more. With the death of Zhen Xianhui, the 2-meter-high muscle ghosts behind him, covered with festering tumors, turned into ashes. Grass. Shinji Kudo was a little slow at the start. When the two of them turned and fired at the same time, with his speed and reaction, he stopped and turned around in the air in an instant, running faster than anyone else. Iron Muto held a black spear in both hands, and the bullets missed. This wave of attacks ended in vain. It ended with the death of Zhen Xianhui. Yilin slowly typed a question mark. What did that Tai Gyopeo really say before he died just now? Really realistic? Really conspicuous? So fresh? What the hell? Forget it, never mind. Death is like a lamp going out. Let him go in peace. Killing skill is the first enhancement that Yilin learned. Nishiu had been learning it for who knows how many years, and when Yilin was learning it, it wasn't too difficult. It usually looks inconspicuous and doesn't seem to be of much use. The breathable method has long been imprinted in his bones. He has special effects on defensive skills. When encountering such iron bumps, he used to hit them one by one with a knife, but now he can hit them one by one with a gun. There is not much difference. You don't have much spiritual power left, do you? Muto Iron slowed down, walking down the stairs step by step, as if stepping on the air. You know full well that their target is me. Yilin did not answer and changed the topic. You also know that I can't let you die. If you die, it means I die. The two of them spoke to each other. A weird conversation is going on. But the mutual testing and attacks between the two of them became more and more intense. Yilin did not use any skills. Each skill consumes a fixed amount of spiritual energy. Although Yilin's spiritual energy value is more than 2000, coupled with the extremely high mental attributes after breaking the first layer of locks, the spiritual energy value naturally recovers very quickly, and he cannot resist the high-intensity release of skills in a short period of time. Just now, Yilin's action of killing one person in the middle of the apostle seemed like an understatement, but it was the result of him using shadow kill many times. Muto Iron possesses all of Yurin's memories, and naturally also knows Yurin's spiritual energy value and attributes. If Yilin guessed correctly, Muto Yurin could even calculate his current remaining spiritual energy value to the nearest 10 digits. He did not doubt this, because if he could do it himself, so could Iron Muto. This is a game. A game between oneself and oneself. Yilin still hasn't thought of how to kill her ghost. The ghost was born from his own obsession, and his obsession is to live. This obsession cannot be defeated or erased. In fact, it is very simple to kill Muto Iron. All it takes is to completely clear away the corresponding obsession, but Yilin can't do that. Hatred, fear, anger can all be eliminated. But just survive is not enough. Denying this obsession is tantamount to denying the meaning of Yilin's survival. He didn't know how to deceive his heart and tell him not to live. The above logic sounds complicated, but in fact, it is a logical relationship that is easy to figure out. This was also Yilin's biggest headache in this trial. Unless the two hit each other from the ground to the ground. At the end of this trial, Yilin became the only one to show off. If this group of people can get out alive, maybe Yilin will have a resounding nickname in the industry as the only one with beautiful limbs. No matter who is fighting the boss, or the boss, it is him. Speaking of which, Su Jingjing looked blankly at the sky. She had already defeated one person and one ghost who could not intervene at all. She thought about the main mission over and over again and muttered to herself, "What is our main mission 3? Li Chang'e walked over leisurely, "Destroy Gaojiam Mei." Su Anjing pointed to the sky, "But why do I feel that the boss in the end is the president himself?" Li Chang'e thought of his first meeting and every detail with Tashi Lin, and his expression showed a bit of embarrassment. "You will get used to this kind of thing in the future." Su Jingjing. Something is wrong with Li Chang'e. "Forget it, I'm not joking." Li Chang'e hugged Wang Tiandi and didn't dare to let go. His expression and tone became serious. "You think you can think of it, but the president will not think of it." "What's the meaning?" Li Chang'e's eyes were deep. He hugged Wang Tiandi tightly, touched the dog's head with one hand, and quietly stepped back a certain distance. He looked down at the deep black water under his feet for a moment, then raised his head and looked at the giant black ball in the distance. "And you didn't find a thing? Don't talk nonsense." Su Jingjing was angry. Although he is not the president, he has learned to speak like a president. "Looking for insertion? I'll go to heaven if I give you some face, right?" After the false president started to flutter, those ghosts never came back to life. "What?" Su Jingjing followed Li Chang'e's gaze, and she subconsciously pulled out a few arrows and held them in her hand. She looked around and realized that what Li Chang'e said was true. It seems that since the appearance of Iron Muto, the ghosts who died in the aftermath of the fight between Iron and Muto Iron have never been resurrected as before. Until the place became more and more empty, others gradually noticed this strange thing. Look down. Su Jingjing woke up suddenly, and her feet didn't know when they started to dry up. The black water is silent, making no waves, quietly gathering on the giant black ball. The size of the giant black ball has obviously shrunk compared to the original size. Then let's. When Li Chang'e is serious, he can actually be used as a sidekick and occasionally give useful opinions. This makes Su Jingjing, who has always called Li Chang'e a scumbag, look up to the big star with admiration. As a result, a large number of Jingjing monsters standing around were turning into blood one by one, perhaps because of Su Jingjing's change of mind, and rejoin the giant black ball. The atmosphere at the scene was a bit strange. All of a sudden, except for the real and fake Yilin, who was making a crackling sound in the air, everyone else became idle. They are neither above nor below, which is very embarrassing. Kudo Shinji returned to his original position. He was frightened. It shouldn't be like this. Where is the boss of this trial? Why is no one paying attention to boss? How could a good apostle get into a fight with his own demon? Isn't it said that good ghosts don't attack the main body? What's going on with Yilin's ghost? Why is that ghost special? All living people think differently. Li Chang'e suppressed his trembling legs and chuckled, the ball is obviously absorbing these nutrients to grow. This is also the reason why the fake president said before that the world is dyed black. We are all attracted by him. Liar. It's too late to say anything now. They have attacked that ball long ago. It is indestructible, and softness overcomes hardness. It cannot be beaten or poked. All we can do is wait. Li Chang'e hasn't finished speaking yet. Click. The black sphere, dozens of meters above the ground, suspended in mid-air, with its surface flowing slowly like liquid, made a crisp sound. Not scientific. This unscientific. Although it looks like a liquid, why does it make the sound of a solid cracking? Click. The noise started again. This ball is going to burst. Xiang Bassian suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. He reacted faster than anyone with agility. He swayed, stepped on the ground, and quickly retreated behind Li Chang'e and the dog, looking straight at the slippery eggshell. The cracked black sphere roared. In order to prevent Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e from starting a fight without respecting martial ethics, he ran away and said, "The trial is important. Let's turn the war into friendship for the time being. Almost all our teammates are dead. Truce. Fight the boss first. Unify the outside world. Unify the outside world. Unify the outside world. Big deal. Girl." Chen Xiaoxiao, Chu Yalian, Zhou Bucan and other few remaining apostles also reacted when they heard Xiang Bassian's voice. The black sphere that had been growing silently finally made some movement. This movement was nothing but a startling movement, and everyone's expressions changed. Now they don't care about the hatred of life and death. After all, their previous team was also formed temporarily and did not have many bonds. Their teammates died in Yilin's hands, and they couldn't express any hatred or anger. Everything was focused on the trial, and their own lives were obviously more important. In the early stages of the version update, the team mode is a new thing. The teams of Xiang Bassian, Chen Xiaoxiao, Chu Yalian and others were all temporarily pulled out. It's hard to say if the relationship will deepen in the future. At this stage, revenge for teammates and the like are things only people with a weak brain can do. Good. Su Jingjing pointed at the tip of Xiang Bassian's arrow. After hesitating for a moment, he immediately changed the direction. Even if Xiang Bassian was slow for a second, Su Anjing's arrow would have been shot out without hesitation. and it was still the kind of random poisonous arrow that Su Anjing had no idea what kind of poison was quenched in it after she shot it out, and even she herself had no cure for it. Li Chang'e was dumbfounded. A second ago, he was saying that the ball was indestructible, that softness could overcome hardness, and that it was unbreakable. But it cracked in the next second. This feeling of being slapped in the face by reality, how is it a bit addictive? In the air. As the black sphere cracked, Mudo Yuren, who was fighting with Yilin, changed his expression slightly. He said softly, "Lost." Yilin frowned. Kakaka dash. There are constant cracks on the black sphere. Suddenly, a soft light burst out from the crack. A gap suddenly opened on the surface of the black sphere. A petite and frail figure covered in blood lay on a domineering black motorcycle. He was dying and was sent out. "It's Oda Mai." She came out of it. Yilin made several complicated gestures towards Nightmare. Nightmare understood instantly. Ppn was spraying exhaust gas and preparing to fly towards Yilin, asking for some good fuel to take a sip. There. With a dark face, Yilin pointed in the direction of Li Chang'e, Wang Tiandi, and Su Jingjing. Night dire. After Oda Mai broke the ball, Mudo Yuren stopped the telekinetic exchange with Yilin, stepped on the invisible stairs, and stepped on the cracked sphere. He gently touched the air beside him, and his movement was like stroking the soft hair of a child. "We've still reached this point." Mudo Yuren squinted his eyes, looked at Yuren who had not fallen in the air, and asked. "You can probably guess what I'm going to do next, right?" Yilin couldn't laugh, not even a little bit. Because he did guess what Iron Mudo wanted to do next, so he could only nod. "Yes, this is the worst development." Mudo Iron smiled happily. "It's not me who's wrong, it's the world." Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 598. It's not me who's wrong, it's the world. Mudo Iron's voice was not loud. Extremely penetrable. That sound, not too loud nor too small, reached everyone's ears. Although he said this with a smile, he smiled like a child. But the next second, except for Yilin, who was mentally prepared for the current situation, everyone else couldn't help but feel creepy. Only because, when Mudo Iron said these words, the voice changed. A little more childish and sweet. The man's rich voice was mixed with the voice of another innocent and immature girl. Originally, there was nothing wrong with these two sounds when listened to separately. But if they are forced to mix together, problems will arise. Is he a boy or a girl? At the moment, no one has time to ponder the philosophical conundrums of life regarding gender. Because, after Mudo Iron said those words, the words echoed in layers, swirling in the space. Before he finished speaking, the huge black ball at his feet, with the black viscous liquid flowing on it, flowed into Iron Mudo's feet and into his body. He is like a big tree at the moment, rooted in the black ball, greedily absorbing nutrients. "You all stay away." Yilin stood high and looked down at the ground. He said something to the direction where Oda Wu, Li Chang'e, Wang Tiandi, Su Jingjing, and the dog were. Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e looked confused at the same time. "Where are you going?" "The further away the better." Yilin said. Oda Mai thrust a knife into the ground with one hand, knelt on one knee, and stabilized her body. She stared deeply at Yilin's back in the sky, her face and body covered with blood. She was in such bad shape at the moment. If she hadn't been steady with the knife, she might have fallen down long ago. Yilin, who was in the air, somehow noticed Oda Mai's gaze. When she looked back, she happened to be looking at Oda Mai. Oda Mai smiled slightly. "I'll wait here. The implication is that I can't walk or run anymore, so I'm just waiting here. No matter whether the final result is life or death, she can just wait where she is. She has nowhere to go and no need to go. I don't know if this interpretation is correct or not. But Oda Mai's words, her calm eyes, and her shallow smile really conveyed to Yilin such a sense of taking life and death lightly, and doing whatever she doesn't want to do. This means that Yilin has also gotten it. But that's not the point. The point is, Oda Mai actually smiled. What day is it today? Her birthday? When does Oda Mai's birthday come? I do not know. What great joy! There is nothing to be happy about when you are in a trial. A breakthrough in swordsmanship? This is possible. The number of monsters killed exceeded 100,000. Thinking about it carefully, it should be about the same. For a moment, various thoughts flashed through Yilin's mind. Yilin always felt that there was something different about Oda Mai now compared to not long ago. Compared with before, it is a little less murderous and a little more gentle. This trial was terrifying, even my Oda was affected. He looked into Oda Mai's eyes. Those calm eyes seemed to have a calming power. Good. After a moment, Yilin could only say one simple word and looked away. Oda Mai wielded the sword with one hand, and her slightly swaying body finally stabilized and remained motionless. The others looked at Yilin in the air and Oda Mai on the ground looking at each other, and they thought, oh shit. Is there still room for eye contact at this time? Xiang Bassian's eyes twitched, feeling extremely envious. But he didn't dare to think too much, he had no life to live with. Such a terrifying woman can only be subdued by a truly ferocious beast. Either he must be extremely unlucky to be cared about by such a woman. I don't know what kind of person this person named Yi is. Yilin's attention fell on Muto Urin again. In just a few seconds, Muto Urin changed again. Opening and closing his eyes, Muto Urin raised his eyelids again, and the whites of his eyes completely disappeared, leaving only pure black in his eyes. Twisting black blood vessels are densely distributed around the eyes. Good guy. Muto Urin smiled, saying nothing. When Iron Muto said these words, Iron understood what Iron Muto wanted to do. Bloodthirsty disaster. This is a skill that Yilin has always been taboo about. For Yilin, this is the trump card among the trump cards and the king bomb among the landlords. But in fact, to put it bluntly, there is nothing complicated about the skill effect of bloodthirsty catastrophe. It's just a matter of borrowing other people's lives, condensing blood will, and forcibly adding attribute values. What everyone, including his teammates, didn't know was that Yilin's act of killing just now had not only the overt purpose and the secret purpose, but also a purpose hidden in the cracks. That is, to condense blood will. Yilin had already fought against Muto Yilin when she first entered this mental space. He can use some kind of power to simulate all his abilities. So, how could Muto Urin let go of Yilin's king bomb? So, at the end, Iron Muto appears in the state of bloodthirsty disaster, which is almost inevitable. Yilin guessed it? Muto Iron also guessed that Iron had guessed it? In fact, it can't be said to be speculation. Two people with the same memory and the same mind, one person and one ghost, any choice or behavior is like looking in the mirror. Without thinking too much, they can roughly deduce the other's behavior pattern. This is also the reason why Yilin feels that this trial is extremely difficult. Originally the difficulty level was just average, but when Yilin appeared and Yilin came, the difficulty level skyrocketed. My biggest opponent is actually myself. Yilin sighed. Yeah, are you surprised or surprised? Muto Iron responded with a smile. At the same time, a girl wearing a white school uniform skirt, white knee-high socks, a small satin tie, and white and smooth legs between the lower edge of the skirt and the socks appeared out of thin air. A pair of clean little black leather shoes did not touch the ground and floated behind Muto Iron. Hiss. Everyone took another deep breath of cold air. No need to ask. No need to think about it. The one that bubbles up and goes online at this time must be Gaejium Me. Stonehammer. With no doubt. Crash dash. Chu Yalian pulled out the hammer and his vertical pupils appeared. Chen Xiaoxiao had green poisonous flower vines growing all over her body, blocking her body. Xiang Baxian's pupils shrank, his expression instantly became serious, his fists were clenched, and a dazzling white light was faintly condensed between the gaps in the metal fist gloves. Su Jingjing, Li Chang'e, and Guzi obeyed Yilin's instructions and ran away. At this time, they trust Yilin's judgment. Even if Yilin didn't say anything, they knew that the next step would be difficult. It wasn't that difficult originally. But the last boss is the president's clone, so it becomes very difficult. What no one knows is that the difficulty should actually be higher at the end of this trial. Because there is the ghost of Mai Oda. But in that ball, Oda Mai didn't know how to toss and killed her ghost. So now the apostles only have to face one Ilan ghost. Otherwise, even Oda Mai's ghosts would come out and kill them randomly. Then the difficulty of this trial would probably be only a little lower than the legendary Twilight of the Gods. After the viscous liquid in the giant black ball split open, part of it was sucked into Iron Muto's body and became a part of him. One part is like a wave, with tentacle shapes twisting on the top of the wave. The deep black made Muto Iron's back look like an endless abyss covered with writhing seaweed. Coming. Yilin's eyes narrowed slightly and he said softly. Two spirits, Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi, appeared behind Yilin at the same time. Gaia Kotomi behind Iron Muto. Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi behind Yilin. One is in heaven. One is on the ground. This strange scene was frozen for a moment. You. You deserve to deal with the boss you caused yourself. Xiang Baxian rushed forward angrily and punched out from 10 meters away. A dazzling white light suddenly appeared on the stainless steel glove, making Xiang Baxian's round fist look like it was equipped with a high-power LED light bulb from a distance. There is a generally accepted saying in the circle when it comes to judging the power of apostles' skills: in most cases, the more flashy and blinding the skills are, the general power is not too bad. Of course, this is just the personal experience of most people. It is estimated that many people have been severely beaten by those cool and powerful skills. But no matter what, after Xiang Baxian punched from a distance, a white ray shot out from his fist, with a deafening clatter and a terrifying sound. Boo! The fist fell on Muto Iron, and the next step was nothing. Xiang Baxian was as dumbfounded as a hen. Everyone is at peace. To stay or to rush forward is a personal choice. Whether to fight or run away is also a choice. In the real world, the sky is huge and there is no place you can go. But here, they are trapped in a small mental space, with nowhere to go and nowhere to escape. There is no other choice but to fight to the death. Therefore, except for Yiren's teammates, the few remaining apostles secretly cursed this poisonous team and desperately used their trump cards to attack Muto Yiren. From the beginning, the boss is already clear. Gaia is behind the Aaron Ghost. If you kill her, you can complete the main mission and return triumphantly. If you can't kill, everyone must die. Moreover, anyone with a little bit of discernment would not be able to tell that this boss has some kind of relationship with Gaia. Oh, Xiang Baxian is very wise not to do anything to me. Yilin chuckled, and the two spirits of Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi turned into red and white light and merged with Yilin. Roaming arms. Except for Xiang Baxian who took action, many others were still there with their eyes flickering, hesitating secretly and making small calculations. They were all shocked. Yilin's eyes swept over Chu Yalian, Zhou Bucan, Chen Xiaoxiao and other apostles. In this trial, only these few people survived to the end. Seen through. They were indeed hesitating just now. Since Yiren's ghost has some connection with Gaia, does that mean that as long as Irum is killed and Irum's ghost disappears, then Gaia is also eliminated? This possibility cannot be ruled out. Moreover, the success rate of this idea is very high. Most likely, This is also a way to clear the level. Kill Yilin and you'll clear the level. When they had this idea, Yilin had already guessed that they would think so. In order to take precautions, killing a wave before was indeed the right decision. Let's give it a temporary name, Black Arms. Muto Urin smiled slightly, and the dark liquid quickly covered up from his legs, forming a pure black gunman's windbreaker on Muto Urin. Apart from the color, it was almost the same as the wandering arms on Urin. Any difference? The boundless darkness completely blackened the world in front of him. Muto Urin, at this moment, seemed to have become the center of the world, the end of darkness. Puff. Xiang Bassian vomited a mouthful of blood, furious and angry. The trump card that he tried his best to play, the punch, seemed to be swallowed up, without even a single ripple. It disappeared in the blink of an eye. Muto Urin didn't even look at Xiang Bassian, as if Xiang Bassian's trump card was like a mosquito bite. Ah no, mosquito bites will still itch. Judging from Muto Urin's expression and reaction, he is not itchy. Pia book by a big guy. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 599. Far away. Terrible vibrations came one after another, and the boundless darkness darkened the vision. It seemed like even the ground was shaking. You've transformed. Su Jingjing stared at the change in front of him in stunned silence. Yes. Li Chang'e carefully arranged the cloak of the batsuit and smoothed out the wrinkles on the cloak. Li Chang'e replied casually, sat down on the spot, and took out a bag of melon seeds. You're actually still in the mood to crack melon seeds. Su Jingjing strongly condemned Li Chang'e's upright behavior of eating melon seeds and watching the show. Li Chang'e was biting melon seeds with a helpless expression. No matter how handsome or awesome I am just an ordinary person. At the level of the president, I am obviously not a human being. If we get involved now, we might as well just stab ourselves to death. Come on. Facing Li Chang'e's peace of mind, Su Jingjing was speechless. But that makes perfect sense. Have you ever felt strange? Su Jingjing concentrated his eyes and carefully watched the movement in the distance, with doubts on his face. Why does the president want to watch the other party transform? Isn't it the most common thing to take advantage of the other party's transformation to directly launch a group attack and kill him? Operation Kaka Kaka. Li Chang'e actually started to crack melon seeds, and he laughed and said, "Do you really think that the president is invincible? Although he is no longer a human being, he has not yet reached the level of a god. Don't blindly worship the president. The skills are not passive skills without consumption. Each skill consumes spiritual energy. The president should know that attacking at that time is just a useless consumption. Don't forget, the only one who knows himself best is himself. Why do I feel that you understand the president quite well? That's necessary, otherwise how can I hug my thighs?" Li Chang'e smiled, with an expression that said no one understands thighs better than me. He handed the environmentally friendly packaging bag of melon seeds under Su Jingjing's eyes. "Would you like to hug a few?" "Tch," Su Jingjing said with disdain, "how can I be in the mood to eat melon seeds now?" Li Chang'e heard this. He lowered his head and thought for a moment, his expression slightly sad and tragic. After a while, Li Chang'e tentatively rummaged in the storage space. Then, spicy strips. Potato chips are always okay, right? Potato chips, yes. Okay. Beside. Wang Tiandi rolled his eyes and raised a middle paw at each of them from behind. Yilin and her ghost became the center of the world. Their victory or defeat will determine the outcome of this trial. I'm curious, how did you kill me? Muto Urin's pure black eyes had an indistinct expression. Gayajiamaimi followed behind Muto Urin like a spirit, smiling slightly. Muto Urin smiled and said, "It wasn't possible at first, but now it is possible." As he said that, Muto Urin said to Gayajiam menu behind him, What does it have to do with me if she kills you? Ha, I understand. Yilin closed her eyes. When you open your eyes again. His eyes were as red as blood. You're right, it's not me that's wrong, it's the world. The same words came out of Yilin's mouth. But compared with Muto Iron's words, the artistic conception is quite different. When Yilin said this, his tone was calm, just to complete the restrictions on the release of the skill. But Muto Iron seemed to be full of some kind of emotion, and it sounded like he should have said those words. Layers of blood shattered on the apostle's panel. Blood-red light, centered on Yilin, soared into the sky. Thank you, Emperor Zhu Chong. Thank you very much. Among the 5 blood intentions, the one belonging to Emperor Zhu Chong is particularly big, round, and dazzling. That is blood will with a high attribute of 6.1. In addition, Yilin killed a wave of people in the trial, and the blood he gathered was to select those who were more awkward to kill. The quality of the carefully selected blood will was far beyond imagination. 5 layers of blood intention were fully stacked, which brought Yilin a temporary attribute bonus of 20.8. Bang 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 bang. Yilin's hand speed exploded, and the speed of light added the corresponding attribute points. After adding temporary attributes, Yilin's measurements attributes have become Strength 4.2, add 5.8. Agility 5.2, add 4.8. Spirit 1 3.6, add 6.4. Filled up. Under the restriction of lock, Yilin used the temporary attribute values brought by Bloodthirsty Catastrophe to directly fill up the strength, agility, and spirit. Full. It's full. Yilin's attributes have reached their limit. Commonly known as bottleneck. Not only was it full, but there was also some left over. This is a pity. Yilin was just about to close the apostle panel. Huh? Why are the temporary attributes added to the top, but the plus sign next to it is still there? Yilin had never had such a huge blood will before. The bloody spirit that is enough to increase the spirit, strength, and agility measurements to the limit. Now that the situation is urgent, Yilin should not get entangled in such insignificant matters. But Yilin, as a patient with mild obsessive-compulsive disorder, always feels uncomfortable if the extra attribute points cannot be used. Moreover, with his hand speed, it would not take more than a second or two to click off this wave of unnecessary temporary attribute values, etc. An idea flashed in Yilin's mind. He suddenly remembered the scene when he used Lancer's blessing to break through the lower limit of luck. Could it be? But? Could it be? Could it be? Hiss. There is no time to hesitate. The process of selection and deduction was compressed into a very small point in time in Yilin's mind. Rush. Bloody, give me more. Add a bit. Bang 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 bang. Yilin's hand speed exploded to the extreme. She pressed the plus sign next to agility and went crazy. Agility add 0.0. 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 Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound in Yilin's ears. Boo. It seemed that there was a membrane that was pierced by Yilin's violent slap. Agility add 0.1. Congratulations to Apostle 1010, who broke through the upper limit of agility with his unremitting efforts and amazing perseverance. Understand and strengthen the analytical vision. With Yilin's unremitting efforts and amazing perseverance, the lock on agility attributes was broken. Yilin chose the agility attribute. He did not choose spiritual attributes. The mental attributes are stuck in the double lock stage. That is the limit of transcendence. Unlike human limits, the difficulty of breaking through the limits of human beings and reaching the extraordinary cannot be summed up in the same way as breaking through the limits of the extraordinary. At this critical moment, Yilin did not dare to gamble and had no chance to gamble. With an idea, he did not dare to choose the more difficult second-level lock to attack, but instead chose the agile first-level lock to attack, which had a higher success rate. Why didn't I think of using Bloodthirsty Disaster to break the lock before? Who would have thought of such an outrageous operation that looks like cheating? There is no point in being upset at this point. The agility lock has been broken. At that moment, a buzzing sound echoed in Yilin's ears. Circles of strange light-colored light spread from the center of the pupil to the periphery of the pupil. If Yilin had the opportunity to take off her shining eyeball and put it under a microscope or a magnifying glass, she might see a strange scene. The circles of concentric circles of light, after being magnified dozens of times, were actually composed of 1 and 0 numbers. The red light on Yilin's body surged and shot into the sky. Iron Muto had related memories of the scene and was not surprised. But when Yiren opened his eyes again, there were faint circles of strange light in his eyes, which made Yiren Muto couldn't help but slowly ask a question. Muto Iron is very familiar with this bloodthirsty disaster. But what happened to those eyeballs? Shining eyes? In his memory, there was no such thing. New abilities. Muto Yiren frowned. The dark and viscous liquid boiled, and hundreds of dark spiral spears condensed behind him, and they stabbed Yiren, who had just opened his eyes. The thousands of pitch-black spears were both liquid and solid, with thin flowing lines connecting them to the tail. From a distance, Iron Muto seemed to have countless tentacles stretching out from behind him, dark and dense. It turned into a barrage and pressed towards Yilin. The jet-black spear was like a flexible snake. In a short period of time, it blocked all the spaces in Yilin's front, back, left, right, up and down. This time, it seems that he is proving with facts that what he just said is not nonsense. Muto Iron, as the ghost born from Iron's obsession, has developed a deep connection with Gaijiamaimi, and now you can really use all your strength to kill Yilin. I see. The black spear blocked all dodge spaces. In the past, it was rare for a character to break through the two attribute locks. Yilin's clouds were light and the wind was gentle. She walked in the air as if walking on flat ground. She took a step forward and took the initiative to face the screen of guns in the sky. With mental attributes as the main attribute and other attributes as supplements, a composite ability that is adjacent to the main attributes will be born. It is not as simple as acceleration. The world in front of Yilin was very different. Time, in Yilin's eyes, suddenly slowed down. The crisscrossing lines divide the space into areas like coordinate axes, and the areas are even marked with corresponding scales. The moment the ability is activated, his position and the extension of all attack trajectories are clearly marked in the analytical vision. Yilin felt like she was playing an alternative game from a god's perspective. He can determine the impact point and trajectory of the attack from countless lines, and can even, to a limited extent, rehearse in advance what will happen after he interacts with these lines. During the trial in Gotham City, at the end of the trial, Yilin received the temporary status card of Dynamic Vision Up. Looking back now, that Dynamic Vision Up is like a weakened version of Analytical Vision. Yilin can even continue to deduce, try and find a safe evasion route before the attack falls on herself while the ability is still under the effect. This is more than just a dynamic vision improvement. This is foreknowledge. In other words, prejudgment. Simply relying on the improvement of the agility attribute cannot achieve this kind of operation. It must also rely on brain calculations, which is equivalent to using the human brain as a simple computer. To achieve this, it is impossible to break through the agility lock alone, nor can it be broken through the mental lock alone. Only the combination of keen dynamic vision and high-speed computing power can give birth to this kind of bug-like strengthening ability. Thus, Yilin's body moved flexibly in the sky full of guns. He compressed the telekinetic armor all over his body into a denser and stronger small shield. The telekinetic shield was like a satellite, invisible and colorless, rotating around Yilin, blocking some of the unavoidable black spears. Yilin twisted left and right, and after a few steps, she walked out of the dense screen of gunfire, unscathed. Interesting. Muto Iron was not surprised but laughed, he he he. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 600. Dark blood surged at Muto Iron's feet. A huge whirlpool rolled up on the cracked black ball and appeared right at his feet. It was as if his foot was stepping on a loophole in this world. The boundless resentment gathered together and turned into Muto Iron's strength, which was enough for him to simulate all the true iron skills and strengthen strange powers. Gaejiamaimi seems to have become Muto Iron's spirit. The posture that Muto Iron is showing now is also very familiar to Yurin. That was clearly the posture of the spirit-possessed weapon that had the skill spirit subduing before losing Blood Jasmine. The tentacles behind Muto Iron that were swaying like seaweed were exactly the same as when Iron activated Spirit Resurrection. But after losing Blood Jasmine, Spirit Conjuring Yilin could no longer use it. But Muto Iron was able to use memory to simulate Iron's lost abilities. Analytical Horizon. Blessed by the temporary attribute points of Bloodthirsty Disaster. In front of Yilin, the dual attributes of agility and spirit broke through a layer of lock at the same time. Needless to say, the strength after breaking through the spiritual lock. As a human being in 2 lifetimes, it was also the first time for Yilin to taste the feeling of breaking through with force and locking quickly. After breaking through the agility lock, the gap between the agility attribute of 10.0 and the agility attribute of 10.1 is more than just 0.1 on the surface. As for the agility attribute, after breaking through the limits of human beings and reaching the extraordinary, Yilin felt that her body's flexibility, dynamic vision, nerve reflex speed, and movement speed had all been greatly improved. Coupled with the activation of analytical vision, the scene in front of Yilin was completely digitized. By capturing all of Muto Iron's movement trajectories and combining it with high-speed calculations, Iron can now predict any attack to a level that he could not even imagine before. If I have to use words to describe this feeling, that is, through analytical vision, Yilin can even deduce the future a few seconds later. What surprises Yilin the most is that analytical vision also has consumption, but what is consumable is not the spiritual energy value. Just like Yilin's self-healing ability, it consumes Yilin's physical energy. Said it before. Physical energy cannot be specifically quantified, but after activating analytical vision, a sense of fatigue that can be clearly felt comes over. Along with it, there was a numbness in both eyes, astringent and dry, which made Yilin have the urge to blink to lubricate the eyeballs, as if there were insects crawling on the surface of the eyeballs. Time is running out. Yilin has no time to explore more uses of analytical vision in such a short period of time. Taking one step forward, Yilin condensed the telekinesis armor covering her entire body into a telekinesis shield that rotated around Yilin like a satellite, resisting attacks from all directions. Bang 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 bang. The pitch-black tentacles were like indestructible spears. Where they fell, bottomless holes were left on the ground. The penetrating power is so shocking that no matter who sees it, their scalp will be numb. It is hard to imagine how big and deep the bloody hole those tentacles will be when they poke into the body of a decent human being. He even stabbed some vital parts, just thinking about it made him snap. Several female apostles seemed to have thought of the same place. They all tightened their legs in unison, not daring to move. Bang 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 bang. The surrounding space was shaking crazily. In the dark space, ripples swayed one after another. This mental image space constructed by Gaejiamaimi's resentment seemed to be unable to withstand the collision of telekinesis between Muto Iron, and the dark scene in front of her eyes was shaking. Everyone who survived had been stunned by the fight between one person and one ghost that was far beyond the human level. Even Chu Yalian, Wang Yang, Zhou Bukan, and Chen Xiaoxiao, who were on the agile side, couldn't see Yilin's movements clearly. Yilin transformed into after-images, quickly changing positions amidst the waves of black tentacles that filled the sky. They can't interfere in the battle between extraordinary apostles. That is already a realm belonging to another dimension. Before breaking through the lock, it was impossible to imagine the horror of an extraordinary apostle. Regardless of whether it is Go, Ping, or Ji, those who can survive to the present in the eternal night level trial are all the best in the same level. They were once proud of themselves and felt that they had hidden many trump cards and were no worse than anyone else. But after the strange fusion of Muto Iron and Gaijiamaimi, the strength they displayed was beyond the scope of their intervention. Compared to these two perverts, we are just scum. Xiang Bassian's eyes narrowed, and the corners of his mouth twitched continuously and rapidly, subconsciously speaking what was in his heart. That's actually the same person. Chu Yupian was kind-hearted and reminded him in a low voice. After everyone heard this, they were silent for a moment, and then they all said two words in unison. Worry, so insidious. Normally, what they should blurt out is pervert or cheating. But they all felt that insidious was more in line with Yilin's performance in this trial. Kudo Shinji's teeth were broken. A suffocating breath circulated in my chest for several days, but I couldn't breathe it out properly. Kudo Shinji suffered from chest tightness, shortness of breath, palpitation, sweating, and weak feet. He was so suffocated by this breath that he looked like he was suffering from kidney deficiency. Of course he is angry. Ashamed and annoyed. He couldn't help but think of Yilin's performance at the first day of the job fair. After knocking the others away, he actually deliberately pretended to have weak legs. Is this interesting? Is this interesting? Is this fun for you? Recalling that he was still wearing glasses and sworn to analyze Yilin's strength and trump cards, Kudo Shinji recalled his confident words at that time and wished he could travel back to the beginning of the trial and strangle himself to death at that time. Everyone is on the run. Even in this mental space, no one can escape. But being able to stay away from these two madmen, no, one. Even if it's 1 or 2 meters away, it's still good. You are actually eating melon seeds. Xiang Bassian ran some distance away and saw Li Chang'e and Su Jingjing having a picnic. There were broken melon seed peels and potato chips all around. His expression froze, and he had the illusion of dreaming back to his youth during a spring outing at school. Would you like some? Su Anjing was a little embarrassed to be stared at, so she took the initiative to hand over the bag. This. The most outrageous thing is not these two guys. It's that dog. Isn't this dog a summoned object? Do summons need to eat? Let's talk about a dog, with an expression like watching a 5D movie, sitting cross-legged on the ground, with melon seeds, spicy sticks, and potato chips on its thighs, eating happily. What is this? This team is so outrageous. Then, Xiang Bassian, Zhou Bukan, Chen Xiaoxiao and Chu Yalian sat down one after another. Get a pack. 100 DP. Li Chang'e did not miss the opportunity to earn death points and took the opportunity to rub his index and middle fingers. No one has ever thought about it. The apostles who were fighting each other not long ago actually used this strange method to turn their hostility into friendship at the end of the trial, and they sat down to have a picnic together regardless of their past grudges. In the past, no one would have dared to imagine such a strange development. Far away, the sky is divided into two colors. One side is dark, the other side is blood red. The pitch black side clearly outweighed the blood red in terms of momentum. From a distance, Yilin looked like a forbidden red light cutting through the night sky, moving through the forest covered with black vines, looking for opportunities to take advantage of. 100 seconds left. Muto Yurin put his hands on his back, his eyes flashed constantly, chasing the fast-moving Yilin, and said with a smile, after 100 seconds, you will fall into the weakness side effect of the skill. For the sake of your dying, I kindly tell you one thing about you, you must not think that the duration of my state is the same as yours, 210 seconds. Obviously, I last longer. Muto Iron waved his hands, and the mighty black tentacles twisted into a dark tornado, and like a long dragon, it pressed down and the ground cracked. Tisk, empty again. Let me think about it, Muto Urin said while maintaining his attack on Yilin, his voice booming. Your original plan should be to fight for time with me on the premise of fully controlling the consumption of spiritual energy. I will disappear in this state, but your skills will still have a few seconds to decide the outcome. Yilin's face was sullen and expressionless. In his eyes, circles of light were looming. In the analytical vision, he continued to use the crisscrossing XYZ axes, the trajectory lines, the subtle movements of Iron Muto, and the position of everyone on the battlefield to frantically deduce the future in a few seconds. Just as Yuren can deduce his own spiritual energy consumption, Muto Iron can even roughly guess Yuren's current remaining spiritual energy value, accurate to 10 digits, based on Yuren's performance. All tentative moves without a precise purpose are just pointless consumption at this point. Red blood overflowed from the corners of Yilin's eyes. Turned into blood and shed tears. Yilin didn't notice it at all, she just listened quietly to Muto Yilin's pretense. But having said that, the experience of watching myself act cool is very rare. Many people may not be able to enjoy this experience in their entire lives. 83 seconds. But if it were you, you couldn't bet everything on the last few seconds before you were unsure whether the shot in your hand could kill me. This is not our usual approach. 76 seconds. I know all about your trump card. At least, it was your trump card before I was born. Annihilation, the luck value has not dropped to a certain level, it is not safe, and it is ruled out. It's a pity that we are plagued by disasters. You can try to see if it is of any use to you. Muto Iron told Iron his trump cards one by one, and time passed quickly. Yilin held 2 guns in his hands. Never took action. One of the guns had a super bullet stored in its chamber. Once it comes out of the barrel, its power cannot be said to destroy the world, but it is not a problem to destroy the enemy of Mo-Ren in one shot. Yilin didn't bother to hide it. He dodged blindly just for this shot. The other person is too familiar with everything about him. All the fancy tactics, including the stealth style, can be used to deal with other people, but when used to deal with oneself, it is a pure waste of psychic energy. Everyone's life and death, and the outcome of this trial, all depended on this one shot. This will be a super cannon with a bullet power of 300% and a heart rate of over 300%. 30 levels of supercharge. 50 seconds. Yilin followed the virtual trajectories and passed through the attacks. Muto Urin watched Urin pass through his carefully laid barrage and arrive in the air. At this time, he did not pay attention to Yilin. Instead, he looked away and lowered his head to stare at the ground. He looked at Myota, who had an iron-like expression on the ground and never showed any weakness for a moment. As expected. You've changed. When Muto Iron said these words. Before he finished speaking, Oda Mai suddenly dragged his seriously wounded body, holding the long knife in one hand, leaping into the air, and actively threw himself into the center of the fierce battle between the two. There. For the seriously injured Oda Mai. No doubt. It's hell. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 601. 60 seconds ago. I still have the strength to make a slash. Yilin, who was dodging various tentacles, felt her chest tremble, and the message came. It's Oda Mai. She was not far away, but she sent a private message to Yiren, obviously not wanting Yiren Muto to hear it. Stop fooling around. Yilin did not look in the direction of Oda Mai, pretending that she did not take the opportunity to chat privately, but on the other side, she connected the voice call with her backhand. Oda danced on the ground. Iron and Muto Iron, the wind pressure leaking from the edge of the fighting battlefield left scratches on Oda Mai's body. She lowered her head. Mai Sakarabu Ikamanji, the thing on it, can restrain them. But if you don't do it well, you will die. If you die, we all die. Oda Mai's tone was firm. Hearing this, Yilin fell silent. Oda Mai saw it. All others saw was Yilin's awesomeness. The ferocious blood energy was overwhelming and the arrogance was frightening, and he fought back and forth with Muto Iron. But only Mai Odin noticed Yilin's embarrassment. Yes. Bloodthirsty Catastrophe. The skill, when Yilin activates it, will directly crush everything without any suspense. This time. Different. His opponent is another self. The other one, with the help of strange power, simulated the power of skills that faintly overwhelmed Yilin's self. Unless absolutely necessary, Yilin will not use Bloodthirsty Disaster. This is a double-edged sword. After the skill is activated, there are only two endings. Brutally beat the opponent to death, or be beaten to death by the opponent. There is no third ending. This is no longer gambling, but fighting. A long time ago, Yiren deduced several endings when he discovered that there was another Muto Yiren in this trial. But no matter what kind of deduction process it was, in the end, Yilin found out helplessly that it would most likely turn into a scene where one person and one ghost were desperately trying to activate the bloodthirsty disaster at the same time. In this eternal night-level trial, the person who forced Yilin into such an embarrassing situation that he had to launch the bloodthirsty disaster was actually himself. But it's also reasonable. Oda Mai saw it. She knows Yiren too well. Even if there was no basis or reason, she could tell based on her feelings that if this continued, Yilin's winning rate would not be high. Hence this conversation. During a voice call. After a few words, the two fell silent at the same time. The only sound left was each other's breathing. For a moment. Across the red and black lights, Yilin's eyes met with Oda Mai for a moment. In this look, Yilin understood Oda Mai's determination. Oda Mai also understood Yilin's concession and helplessness. Good. They both said at the same time. Yiren seemed speechless at Muto Yiren's analysis just now. In fact, they are secretly plotting against Chen Kang. Oda Mai opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The wounds on his body that were simply bandaged were once again stained with bright red blood. Tick, tick, tick. Boom. As soon as he stepped out, the ground was cracked. Mai Odin no longer had the calmness to control every ounce of power, and the excess power poured out from under her feet. A crack was left in place, and Mai Oda had already flown up, with an indifferent expression, reaching for the knife at her waist with one hand. Ha ha ha. Muto Iron watched Oda Mai charging towards him. He was not surprised or angry, but laughed loudly. After ruling out all the possibilities, you want to make a comeback, and it turns out that only Xiao Wu is left. Muto Iron was still stepping on the cracked black sphere. After simulating the activation of bloodthirsty catastrophe, Muto Iron's feet never left there. The moment Oda Mai made a move, Iron's eyes narrowed, and he stepped on the gap in the trajectory line while approaching Iron Muto. Behind Mai Oda, the blood dripping from the wound pulled out a blood flower shaped like a wing as Oda Mai moved at high speed. Muto Iron's expression changed slightly. The 5 fingers of his right hand were clenched. Boom boom boom. Pieces of black explosion light drowned everything in sight. The effect of analytical vision is really hard to say. After Iron Muto assumed that familiar posture, Iron guessed that the opponent was going to imitate the grip of annihilation. The person who knows you best is yourself. After predicting the opponent's skills and seeing the future in a few seconds, Yilin passed through the gap of explosive light. At this time. Boom. Oda Mai groaned, thick black smoke was rising from the left half of her body, and the smell of blood spread. One side of her body was blown away. In perception, Yulin saw this scene. But he didn't look back. There is no turning back either. He took out the compass, and with the thought in his heart, the compass needle froze instantly. There it is. Rush. The psychic value is only a little over 400. This is still under the blessing of bloodthirsty disaster. Without the bonus of the epic title Shadow Warlock, his spiritual energy value would never have been so exaggerated. 20 points of mental attributes bring 2000 points of basic Chinook value. Coupled with the 50% Chinook value increase multiplier of the title attribute, Yulin's upper limit of Chinook value has reached a terrifying value of 3000 points for the first time. In addition to being used for defense, flying, and movement, Yulin used precise calculations to avoid releasing any skills, thus minimizing the consumption of spiritual energy. After layers of accumulation, a full 1500 points of spiritual energy were compressed into a small bullet. If the weapon in his hand hadn't been a certified spirit weapon, Yulin would have been worried that with this level of charging, the barrel would explode before firing the bullet. Will not. The pointer of Kangzin's compass pointed directly at Muto Iron's feet. Really? Muto Iron's power comes from there. All the resentments converge there. Oda Mai rushed in before, also to escort this trial. Although later, Oda Mai had no choice but to give up halfway and break the ball. But there is no doubt that all the answers are there. Muto Iron's expression finally no longer calm. There is an added kind of indescribable madness. This is the last 50 seconds. 50 seconds later. Everything will be over. Either the trial is over and they return to reality, or all of them are buried in this eternal night-level trial. You lose. Muto Iron ignored Oda Mai, who had half of his body blown off. With a shake of his left hand, a turning bullet was fired at Iron. The moment the jet black bullet came out of the barrel, it crossed the distance of space and time and came to Yulin in the blink of an eye. Quick! This bullet is too fast. Muto Iron actually hid one analytical horizon. The scenery in front of me suddenly became blurry. Yulin's eyes hurt sharply. Severe pain spreads to the back of the head. The pain made Yulin feel like someone was using a chainsaw to split his head open while laughing crazily. In the analytical vision, the pitch-black bullet that struck at high speed suddenly froze. A series of prediction lines extending from the trajectory of the bullet passed through Yulin's body at different impact points. This means, at this moment, no matter how Yulin dodges, the bullet will eventually pass through Yulin's body. Unless use the 30-layer supercharged bullet in his gun chamber to offset Iron Muto's charged bullet. Ah! Yulin sneered and did not fire, letting the black bullet pass through his chest. Boom! A blood hole as big as a bowl exploded behind Yulin. Owner! Owner! Yulin's ears heard the exclamations of Bai Xiaoi and Nai Hongxiu at the same time. His health value dropped sharply. Yulin predicted the trajectory of the bullet. At the same time, in his haste, he only had time to condense 3 layers of telekinetic shields and arrange them in advance at the impact point of the bullet. For a moment, Muto Iron's charged bullet penetrated 3 layers of defense and penetrated through Yulin's right chest. On Yulin's back, blood gushed out like a fountain, spurting out half a meter away. I haven't been injured in a long time. A thought flashed through Yulin's mind. He gritted his teeth and endured the severe pain. When he saw that 12% of his health was left, he frowned at first, and then he seemed to understand something. Regardless of everything, he followed the guidance of the compass and dived into the huge black ball through the gap created by Oda Mai. The blood flowing out from behind Yulin condensed strangely in mid-air, faintly reflecting the crystal-clear blood light. As Yulin entered the black ball, the blood spurting out from his back seemed to come alive, turning into a crystal blood mist in mid-air, while Yulin was pulled into the black ball. Sure enough, I noticed it. As expected of me. Muto Iron let out a long sigh when he saw that Urin actually caught the bullet with his body. And my Oda, who had half of her body blown off, passed by Iron Muto in the blink of an eye. Ta-ta! Click. Oda Mai's footsteps were light and slowly passed by Muto Iron's side. The sound of landing footsteps and the sound of a long sword being sheathed sounded at the same time. At this time, Oda Mai looked back and smiled. At that moment, the dark and despairing world seemed to be welcoming the dawn and prospered like spring. One sword flows the secret, one sword is gentle. Yes, this wave is not a loss. Muto Iron covered his chest and smiled. A few seconds later, the jet black windbreaker and Muto Iron's body split diagonally, and they were split in half at some point. What a pity, the person you chopped was me. Before Muto Iron finished his last sentence, the split body was reassembled. Behind Muto Iron, Gaiagiamaime's figure loomed, and on Gaiagiamaime's face, a tragic and sinister smile gradually appeared, which was creepy. As expected, Oda Mai didn't lie. She only had the strength to swing the knife. After sheathing the long sword, she stood there, watching helplessly as Muto Iron's body that was split in two reassembled and walked towards her step by step. Oda Mai looked calm, closed her eyes, and murmured, "Master, I'm still too far away." That bullet was not prepared for Muto Iron. Yulin dragged heavy steps, her health recovered quickly, and the wounds on her back were also healing. But the healing of the injury cannot slow down the loss of physical strength. Whether it is analytical vision or the self-healing ability brought by unknown bloodline, they are all based on physical fitness. Yulin feels that now she only needs a bed and a person to massage her legs and shoulders. With his little maid, he could fall asleep where he was and sleep soundly. It's not over yet. Yulin felt like there was a suffocating stench all around her. The boundless darkness twisted into various strange shapes before his eyes. In the darkness, there seemed to be familiar yet unfamiliar figures. The black and changing hollow position seemed to have eyes staring at itself. After Yulin entered the black sphere, she lost her direction. It doesn't matter. There is a compass from the heart, and the direction is always there. Yulin stepped into the darkness and into the abyss. He felt as if he had been gone for a long time. But when I looked at the time, it turned out that only 10 seconds had passed. Under the influence of strong evil thoughts, even Yulin's perception was affected. In the dark, a white lotus blooms. Yes. From a distance, it looks like a pure and holy white lotus blooming in the darkness. But when Yulin got closer, she discovered unexpectedly but not unexpectedly that white lotus / it is indeed Gaiagiamaime.